Welcome back to the Native Speaker Experience. We're going to look at making a sharp criticism. Sometimes you will need to speak negatively, but in a formal way. When you're making a sharp criticism, a very useful structure is this: less than, to say the least. All you have to do is add an adjective in the empty space and you're ready to go. So, less than helpful, to say the least. Less than polite, to say the least. Less than friendly, to say the least. Less than pleasant, to say the least. And less than sympathetic, to say the least. So this phrase means absolutely not the adjective. So if you say less than helpful, to say the least, it means that somebody was absolutely not helpful. If you say less than polite, to say the least, it means that somebody was absolutely not polite. So you need to build it in this way. The overall meaning of the phrase is negative, but the adjective you insert here must be positive, not negative. The adjective you use should refer to character in some way. So it is usually quite subjective, not something like size or color or length, etc. So you would not say less than big, to say the least. That's a mistake. Don't say that. Less than blue, to say the least. Also a mistake. Don't say that. Or less than long, to say the least. Those would all be examples of mistakes. So don't use that. You need to use some kind of subjective character adjective. So typical character adjectives could be used for anything. You could have character adjectives for business. So for example, you might say profitable, successful, child-friendly. Profitable means a company that doesn't lose money. And successful is obviously you have success. And child-friendly means children are welcome here. So that, for example, certain restaurants are child-friendly. They have a place where children can play, or they give toys to children so that mom and dad can have dinner. You could have character adjectives for service. So you might want a professional service, a reliable service, a punctual service. Professional means have a good standard. Reliable means you can trust this. And punctual means you're on time, not late. You could also have character adjectives for hospital. So, for example, we all want our hospitals to be hygienic, clean, well run. Hygienic means clean, free of germs. Clean obviously means not dirty. And well run means properly managed and well organized. And you could have character adjectives for government. When we speak about our government, we want our government to be like good people. So the character adjectives you would use for people are often suitable for the government. We'd like our government to be sympathetic, honest, straightforward. Sympathetic means that they understand people's problems. Honest means that they tell the truth, and straightforward means simple or clear, but also honest. So straightforward has two meanings. It can mean simple or clear, but also honest. So these are some useful typical character adjectives, but we use them in many different situations. So you can use them for business, for services, for hospital, or for government. Okay. Now, if you're making a sharp criticism, the construction that we need is very simple. You'll need a subject, the people or organization that you're talking about, and then you'll need some form of the verb be. I am, you are, he is, she was, they were, you have been, she has been, those kind of phrases. You could also add a modal verb, can be, could be, will be. And then you'll say less than plus an adjective plus to say the least. So quite easy to build the phrase. A note that we'd make here is that the most common mistake students make in this situation is verb agreement. For example, a noun-like information must use verbs like is, was, has been. Staff is a plural noun, so that will use staff are, staff were, staff have been. Or, for example, politics. Politics is a singular noun, so it's politics is, politics was, politics has been. But politicians, you're speaking in general about the people. Politicians are, politicians were, politicians have been. Now, on the government can be both, because the government is a group noun. Although this is simple, it is still one of the biggest mistakes made by students studying English. So students are often surprised that teachers focus on this, but when we see students' results from exams, this is a constant mistake that comes up universally all over the world among students of all nationalities. So you need to be careful about that. So, for example, we would say that the government are. Now, it could also be the government is, but information is, only is. The application process was, some of the staff were, many children's food products are, the content on certain websites is, some politicians have been, and the kitchens in many fast food places are, and the waiter in that restaurant is. Okay, so even though it looks very simple, this little section here is where students often make the mistakes. They get these sections right, and they don't have a problem with them, but this is the most likely place you'll make a mistake. So pay attention to that. The government are less than sympathetic, to say the least. So you should get some practice at this. Even if you want to turn down the sound on the video and practice yourself, you can do that. It will help you build muscle memory and get you used to saying full sentences in a flow. So you can listen to me, or after I've done it once, you can replay it and turn the sound down and do it yourself. Some of the information on the internet is less than accurate, to say the least. The application process was less than straightforward, to say the least. Straightforward means simple or clear. Some of the staff were less than helpful, to say the least. And many children's food products are less than healthy, to say the least. The content on certain websites is less than appropriate, to say the least. Appropriate means suitable for a certain time, a certain place, a certain situation, or for certain people. So if you are watching, we'll say, a movie, maybe it's not suitable for young children. Then we'll say it's not appropriate. Some politicians have been less than honest, to say the least. The kitchens in many fast food places are less than hygienic, to say the least. Hygienic. Hygienic is the correct pronunciation. Hygienic. Okay? And that means clean and free of germs. And the waiter in that restaurant is less than polite, to say the least. So there you can see a basic sentence structure you can use that you can use in many, many different situations. Here, when we say that the government are less than sympathetic, to say the least, we mean they don't care at all, but we're saying it in a formal, useful way for formal situations. If we say something is less than accurate, to say the least, we mean it's absolutely false. That's what we really mean here. If we're talking about straightforward, we mean it's really complicated. When we say it's less than straightforward, to say the least, we say it's really complicated. So that's what that means there. If we say some of the staff were less than helpful, to say the least, we mean they were really unhelpful. Okay, so it's stressing the negativity here, but it's doing it in a formal way. Healthy, they were really unhealthy. Less than appropriate, to say the least, it's really inappropriate. The negative of appropriate is inappropriate, not unappropriate, so inappropriate. Some politicians have been less than honest, to say the least. It means they lie a lot. That's what you really mean. And the kitchens in many fast food places are less than hygienic. Oh my God, they're so dirty. Okay, that's what you really mean. The waiter in that restaurant is less than polite, to say the least. You mean he's really, really rude. So that's what this sentence does. It gives the message in a strong way, but without emotion, without being rude, without being too excited. It does it in a quite formal way. Here we're going to look at making a sharp criticism, and we're going to take that structure that we've just used, but we're going to add something to the beginning. We're going to add an opinion phrase. So some really nice opinion phrases like I find, if it's in the past, I found, I feel that, I think that, and here's a nice one, I get the feeling that. That's when it's an instinct or a feeling, not exactly knowledge. I would have to say that. There's another lovely phrase for talking about your personal opinions about something. I think it is fair to say that. There's a nice general opinion phrase. As far as I'm concerned, another personal opinion. This is a personal opinion, and I think the point could be made that this phrase is not quite so personal. It could be more general, but it's a nice phrase here, one of the many you can use. So remember, if you're in a speaking exam, if you're in a discussion, if you're giving a presentation, if you're writing an email at work, these are all really useful structures. Okay, let's add a little bit more now to pack out our sentence. We're going to add an intro phrase here along with the opinion phrase. So we can say something like, by and large I find the government's attitude to the homeless less than sympathetic to say the least. Or on the whole I found some of the articles on the internet less than accurate to say the least. Now I want to speak for a moment about the verb find and when we use it in the past, found. There's a little kind of piece of detail that we have to be clear about. When you use I find, you probably would be better not to use the verb be here. Okay? It's a little bit of a grey area, but technically speaking, we don't put the verb be in here. Sometimes native speakers break this rule, but it's better without it, and it will look better for you as a professional user of English or an educated user of English, or of course if you're in exams, this will come across much better. So it would be better to leave it empty. It is possible to put in the phrase to be here, okay, and that would also be correct, to put in to be. So you can leave it either empty or put in to be. However, if you put in is or are, that's technically incorrect, so you shouldn't really do that. Is it a huge mistake? Well, I have to admit, many native speakers, when they're not paying attention, will put this in, and we may not correct it regularly in school, so it's something that you may hear. But if you want your English to be good, I'm giving you the advice that maybe less is more and leave it empty or put in to be. I think empty is just as good, to be honest, and it's less work for you, less to think about. So don't put in a be here. Okay. Broadly speaking, I feel that the visa application process is often less than clear, to say the least. So if you're writing a letter of complaint to the visa office, this is a good sentence. You're saying it's absolutely unclear, but you're doing it in a positive, professional way. For the most part, I would have to say that some of the staff were less than helpful, to say the least. So we have these lovely phrases here. These 4 phrases are 4 of my favorite phrases in English because they're wonderful generalization phrases. They're a great introduction phrase to the sentence. If you're speaking in general, you can use these. By and large, on the whole, broadly speaking, for the most part. Really, really good phrases. Okay? And then personally speaking. Personally speaking is not a general opinion, it's just your opinion. So personally speaking is a very good partnership, a very good partner with I find or I found. But here I'm going to put it together with I get the feeling that. So personally speaking, I get the feeling that many children's food products are less than healthy, to say the least. And here I've skipped the intro phrase. Why? Well, in this opinion phrase, it's quite a rich phrase. It's both the opinion and the personalization. So we're going to skip that because it covers both of those. So you can say, in my opinion, the photos on some Facebook profiles are less than appropriate, to say the least. Okay, so if you're judging somebody's Facebook and you don't approve, you can use this sentence. As far as I'm concerned, the kitchens in many fast food places are less than hygienic, to say the least. So again, if you were giving a presentation at a conference, if you were giving a presentation in college or in secondary school, or if you're writing an essay and you're asked to talk about something in this area, then this is a very nice sentence style to use. Can you use it for speaking? Absolutely. If you were in any of the Cambridge speaking exams, if you were in a university speaking exam, or one at in secondary school, again, Very, very nice phrase. It's very general. Native speakers use it all the time, and we use it to emphasize a strong criticism, but it does it in a very formal way, which is very good for you. So, just to recap, the structure is useful in letters and emails of complaint, and that often comes up in the first certificate exam and the Cambridge Advanced exam. And of course it comes up in general business usage as well. Sometimes you have to criticize, but you don't want to do it in an excited or emotional way. You do it in a more formal way. Also discussions. So if you are in business or you're at a conference, you may have to discuss something. So you might have to criticize something, but you want to do it in a formal way. You can use it there. Cambridge speaking exams like Cambridge First Certificate, Cambridge Advanced and IELTS. This is a super phrase. You can criticize anything at any time, and it's guaranteed that you can use this. Why? Because it's so general. It can be used for anything. Essays in university or high school. If you're a high school student or a university student and you have an essay to write in English and you want to make a criticism, it can be used for politics, economics, history, sociology, anything like that. Again, a very nice phrase. And of course, essays and articles in Cambridge writing exams, like First Certificate, Cambridge Advanced and IELTS again, this can be used. Why? Well, in the IELTS exam, you'll have to give your opinion in the essay. And in the Cambridge Advanced or First Certificate, you may have to write an article also. So this is a really nice phrase because you might want to make a criticism of something. And then presentations at work or college. If you're standing up and giving a presentation to a group of people and you want to criticize something, maybe nobody in the room, you want to use this phrase as well. It's very useful. And of course, academic assignments and theses in university, this is a very, very useful phrase. So it's a phrase that will serve a lot of people in a lot of different scenarios, and you can use it to talk about virtually anything that you're criticizing. That's all from me. The very best of luck, and I'll see you next time in the Native Speaker Experience.